All right, it says that we are live. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Let's just make sure that we're audible. Stromy Live, let's do a mic check on this.
Check, check. Can everyone hear me?
I heard a ding from your side. Does that ding mean that we are officially live?
Yep, that's what that means.
All right, so let's see if we can confirm that people can hear us. We hear you now. Yes, so thank you very much, Fred. We have Fly Life. Let's go. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. We have Lady Moonweb. Oh, yeah, loud and clear. All right, perfect. And looks like it's all working out. It's all working out as it should. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, I do want to say welcome to whatever the fuck this is going to be. And thank you for having such poor standards that you decided to spend your evening here with me or us. And yeah, you could be doing other things right now. For example, you could be taking a shit. You could have been on the throne right now. You know, the porcelain seat. You could have been doing your business, but instead you're here. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you for the fact that you all are here rather than being on the throne taking a shit. But it could also be the case that you're watching this while taking a shit. In which case, fair game. Fair game. Good for you for being here while taking a shit. Anyway, so Astronomy Live, how have you been?
Oh, I've been great. I've been good. Yeah, just enjoying life, enjoying summer. How's it going?
Enjoying summer, and I assume your shits are still very thick and healthy?
Just gonna no comment that one.
Okay, perfect. Anyway, so what are we here to discuss besides Astronomy Live's bowel movements? The reason why we're here is because we have just been inundated with a whole bunch of dumb fuckitude from the flat earth side of things, and we're going to discuss some of those things. And to start off with, I am going to bring it to Astronomy Live to bring up an email that he received. And then after that, we're going to talk about some Bev stands. We're going to talk about some guy from 7 fucking years ago that apparently lost his shit about something. And then we're going to talk about the future of Red's rhetoric. Ooh, spooky. So Astronomy Live, if you wish to screen share, you're more than welcome. If not, don't. But you received an email, didn't you? You received an email, and it was filled with a lot of stupid. And so go ahead and tell people about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just working on screen sharing here so I don't accidentally overshare stuff I don't really want to share. But can you see this?
Let me full screen that. Maybe you should use the actual screen share function because at least on my end, it looks like dog shit.
Yeah, I know it's not going to be great. I'm screen sharing through OBS of showing a Google Chat not a Google Chat, a Google Chrome window, but I'm doing that deliberately so that I can crop out what I don't want to accidentally overshare.
Yeah, fair enough. So you're just going to have to read it to us. Anyway, please go ahead.
Okay. So I received this email, mind you, out of the blue, unprovoked, a few days ago from one Iggy. Now, Iggy apparently has been sending the email to more people than just me, and I believe has sent it word for word, just copy pasted to others, including MC Toon, who had him on recently on his channel. Go check that out for an actual live discussion with Iggy about his email. But he sent me what back in the day would have been known as high weirdness by mail, where you receive unsolicited conspiracy theories by mail, made faster and I guess better by the internet. So Iggy says to me in a subject title called "Epic Baller Fails FYI." He says, I thought you should finally be made aware of some immensely pertinent flat earth facts that all ballers laughably ignore in their willful and disgustingly intentional fake ignorance. A lot to unpack there, but he comes right out of the gate telling me that basically people like me are willfully and disgustingly intentionally faking our ignorance of these things that he's going to tell me about. Okay. So he's listed here 13 points that he would like to discuss with me, I guess. Number one, no representation in any night sky that you can see stars, comma, of our orbiting anything 67 times faster than our allegedly painfully slow spin. We have only one motion in the night sky instead of at least three. Earth is nothing of a teacup ride at an amusement park as it must be. Okay, and we had this discussion offline beforehand, but Chat GPT much maybe, I don't know, hard to say.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that a lot of this I'm going to say is Chat GPT generated, and just so people are aware, Chat GPT is not bulletproof. You can actually trick the system to giving you supposed flat Earth facts. And air quotes is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, just making that very clear. But you can trick Chat GPT to have it tell you what you want to hear and make it sound more scientific than it actually is.
I mean, it's definitely possible. I think it's also entirely possible that he wrote this himself, which I think would actually be more damaging to his credibility if that were possible. Now, based on what I saw, I didn't watch the whole live stream, but I watched a good portion of it on MC2's channel. And from what I saw, the man could speak English. He seems not to be someone whose English is their second language. He seems to be, someone who speaks reasonably fluent English. So why it's so poorly written, I don't know. I mean, ChatGPT is definitely one plausible theory. The other is just incompetence. I don't know.
This is why I say Chat GPT, and that's because you take what Chat GPT has given you and you retype it slightly so it doesn't sound like it came from Chat GPT. Like, hey, copy my homework, but change it a little bit so you can fool the teacher.
I mean, that's definitely possible.
He just did a really shitty job.
It's possible. It's also possible that this is just true high weirdness by mail, that this is just his disorganized thoughts, and he has decided to inflict them on me. So I wanted to go point by point here and actually show some evidence that directly contradicts his statements. So number one, he claims that there's no indication that there's any motion of our solar system relative to other stars, that there's only one motion in the sky simply caused by our quote-unquote allegedly painfully slow spin. This is patently false, and I've shown this in recent videos. I've shown the effect of precession on Polaris over the last decade or so of time, the last 11 years. You can go check that out on my channel. I'm also working on
a link in the description, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm also working on a video coming up looking at whether the constellations actually change shape over the years. And so as part of that, we're going to talk for a moment about proper motion. And on Twitter, I posted this some weeks ago of the motion of Barnard's star over the last 5 years.
That has caused so much butthurt.
Exactly.
I just that clear. Oh my God, so much just cope and seethe and hatred. It is amazing. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that. Like, I've seen people bookmark it. I've seen people reference it in other discussions. And it either causes the discussion to sort of shut down and people, the people claiming that stars don't move don't really have a response to that, or they just accuse me of lying and faking it, whatever the case may be. So this is a star that has a high degree of what we call proper motion. That means the actual motion of the sky from year to year, from night to night, is quite high relative to your average star. So if you take a picture of that star, even just a few years apart, as you can see here, you can clearly see its motion relative to the other background stars. In this case, Barnard's star is a relatively close star to our solar system, and that's contributing to this high proper motion. It's both fast moving relative to our solar system, and it's also close by, and so it actually reaches the highest degree of proper motion of any star currently known. So this is an example of a star that, with just amateur equipment and a little bit of patience, you can take pictures a few years apart and already see a high degree of motion relative to the background stars. But what sometimes some of these people will say in response to that is, well, yeah, but the other ones aren't moving. Okay, our time baseline here is 5 years. If you take a longer baseline, orders of magnitude longer, you start to see a lot more stars moving. So here's an example. This is a totally different field of view, and it shows a much longer baseline of time. So I made this using images from two of the Palomar sky surveys. The first one conducted in the 1950s, the second one conducted in the 1990s, and a third picture, the third frame of this animation, was taken by my own telescope in 2015. Now, I did say the word animation. All that means is I took pictures, real pictures, and put them together, and so we are covering a time lapse here that spans about 65 years, roughly, from somewhere in the early 1950s up until 2015. And you can see a number of stars moving across this kind of time frame. So Schultz's star is one of the central stars here in this picture that's moving. This is a star that's also relatively close to our solar system, like Barnard's star. In fact, it passed very close to our solar system some number of thousands of years ago. And you can see a number of other stars. When you start to get out to 60, 70 years of baseline, you can start to see a number of other stars moving in this frame as well. There's dots to the left, there's dots to the right that are moving over time in this picture. And so, yes, if you have enough time and enough patience and you take pictures separated by decades of time, you will see quite a number of stars moving relative to our solar system over time. So that point is completely and totally wrong. So his second point there is that circular star trails prove a flat Earth. Well, no, they don't. Just because you don't see this motion in the course of a single night doesn't mean the motion isn't there. And with enough patience and enough time, you can definitely see it. Number 3, he says comets, which impossibly never deplete, and none have ever gone extinct during our pretty good window of even just naked eye observation. Again, I apologize for the broken English here. I'm just reading what he wrote. Not any of the sun grazers, same situation for meteor showers, and never even a single flare from any sun becoming a supernova, quasar, nor just finally blinking out.
And also wanted to say thank you, NANA, $6.66. Hail Sagan. I doubt flurfers will understand any of this. Yeah, what gave that away? Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so there's again a lot to unpack here. I just want to hit a couple of points very quickly. So one point is he starts off talking about comets, right? He says comets never deplete during their visibility period. Well, here's an example of a comet that disintegrated and depleted a few years ago. So this was observed, I believe, in 2020. This was C2019 Y4 Atlas. And here's a picture taken by Hubble on April 20th, 2020, of it breaking apart. Now, during that same time frame, I was also taking pictures of this comet with my own telescope. So here's a picture that I took, and I did a live stream tracking this comet over multiple nights. And what you notice about it is, although you can see the comet, notice there's no like central, real sharp, bright point at the tip of it. That's what you would normally see in it, what we consider a healthy comet that is actively outgassing. When a comet depletes like this, it will often lose structural integrity and actually break apart, which is what we just saw in that Hubble photograph. And you lose a central singular point of condensation. And then over the next few nights and the next few weeks, it slowly fizzles out. And that's exactly what both amateurs and professionals observed happen with Comet Atlas a couple years ago. So when this comet came by in 2020, we saw it and I live streamed it. And guess what? Over successive nights, it gradually got dimmer and fainter and fuzzier and fizzled out as we watched it. So yes, comets actually do deplete. So that point is completely wrong. He also says that we never see supernova, for example. Well, that's wrong as well. And in fact, I recently live streamed a supernova in the galaxy M101.
You would
This
think that before sending you this list, he would have at least took a quick glance at your videos.
You would think that, but you'd be wrong.
Because I knew that supernova was captured by a whole bunch of people because of Twitter, and like a lot of people with telescopes were posting their images of that supernova to Twitter, and yours was one of them.
Yeah, how about that? Again, like he had this discussion with MC Toon, and I believe that discussion happened before he even sent me this email a few days ago. And yet he seems to have learned absolutely nothing by his discussion with MC Toon. And furthermore, he seems to have done no homework on what I've shown. Because in his discussion with MC Toon, he said that, because MC Toon pointed out that actually amateurs have been observing supernova. And in fact, I think this one came up. I think Bob the Science Guy was in the chat mentioning how he had just photographed the same supernova as well. And Iggy's response to this was to say, well, they are the only ones who see it. They being, quote unquote, the men in black, I guess, or people who are in on the conspiracy, and that you need really expensive telescopes to see it. So therefore, anyone who claims to be posting pictures of it is lying, as if it's not possible to buy telescopes. And as MC Toon says,
that's something I want to just highlight real quick. And we're going to get back on this subject later on. I just have to make a note to remember it. But here's the deal. Just because equipment may be difficult to get, that doesn't mean that the supernova automatically doesn't exist because you personally do not have the equipment to capture it. I'm sorry. There's some observations out there where a Nikon P1000 is going to be insufficient. People need to understand this shit. And by people, I mean flat earthers. But are they really people? Are they? Or are they more cockroaches? I guess that's a debate for another time. But on the assumption that they're people, on that assumption, these people need to understand that telescopes, yes, they're very expensive. The kit that supports the telescopes, to the capture equipment, the stabilization equipment, like for example, you have that secondary camera riding piggyback on your telescope.
The adaptive optics. The adaptive optics unit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, this shit is very expensive. That doesn't mean it's fake. Just because you can't afford this shit doesn't mean that the images captured by such equipment is fake. But even then, that's not an excuse for another reason. You don't need to buy this equipment to actually utilize it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Astronomy Live, but weren't you the one to offer the use of your telescope to many flat earthers in the past?
Oh, yeah. I have a standing offer to let anyone who thinks the space station is fake to use my equipment to track it and film it themselves. To date, none have actually accepted and followed through. Sometimes they'll beat their chest about how, oh, yeah, no, they'll totally do it. And then when push comes to shove and they actually have to put their money where their mouth is, they chicken out and back down and find some reason not to do it.
Now I'm going to ask you to brag about the size of your penis here for a second. Can you please tell people the awesomeness that is your Megadeth telescope?
Oh, yes. So the telescope sitting next to me right now, in fact, is an 11-inch Celestron Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. This is a Nexstar 11 GPS, and it is fabulous. It is fantastic, and it is very powerful and would be great for tracking the space station. This picture you're seeing right here of M101 was actually taken with a slightly smaller telescope, an 8-inch LX200, for which I have an equatorial wedge in order to polar align it and run very long exposures with a very cold, very sensitive CCD camera, and that's what was used here, along with that adaptive optics unit you mentioned. So I have a variety of kit for doing this. Yeah.
And to be clear, guys, to illustrate the fact that Astronomy Live was willing to let other people use the scope, I actually had that particular scope in the back of my car, drove that bitch all the way to Colorado for our Distance to the Sun video. So
let me ask you a question. I know I'm skipping subjects here for a second, but since you had that telescope in your possession, and you used it yourself, and you set it up in an altitude azimuth configuration, if I remember right. Right? That's what you did, right?
Yeah,
Altitude
that's
azimuth.
exactly what I did.
Let me ask you something. When you set that up, was the first step to use a bubble level or something like that on the tripod, or was the first step to put the telescope on the tripod and then try to find the apparent horizon?
No, we used the bubble level.
Yeah. Okay. Just double checking.
Yeah, just the double check. I know exactly where we're going with that. But, to be clear, Astronomy Live has two different telescopes that can be used for many different situations, for many different observations. And Astronomy Live has agreed to let flat earthers use his telescope, even over the internet. They don't have to leave the comfort of their own home to use his kit. And Astronomy Live is not charging for this privilege. You just have to be a flat earth dumbass that doesn't have the money needed to buy a telescope yourself, and Astronomy Live will be more than happy to do the observation either on your behalf or have you be directly involved in the observation in the first place. So these motherfuckers have no excuse when it comes to, oh, I can't fucking afford it, so therefore it's fake. No, that's bullshit. You have no excuse for that, because you have Astronomy Life here that is willing to let you use his shit that he already fucking has.
Yeah, absolutely. And I live streamed the acquisition of this photo. I mean, a number of people saw me do this because I was doing it live on YouTube here. I was live streaming for hours on end the acquisition of this photo. This is 6 hours worth of light from across 2 nights where I was photographing this galaxy with this supernova and put it all together, stacked it, and made this picture. And people saw each one of the individual raw 5-minute exposures that I was running as it came in live from the telescope on YouTube. And you know what I didn't get? I didn't get a single person in the chat demanding to try it to use it themselves. Because I would happily hand over the controls. Like, it's the camera's totally controlled from the computer. The camera is actually a dumb camera. Like, it doesn't have onboard processing capabilities like a normal consumer camera. It's just a CCD. The fanciest part of it is the fact that it hooks into that adaptive optics unit to deliver a very fast electronic signal to the mirror system to tilt and tip it to keep the stars perfectly steady for those long 5-minute exposures. And it does that very well. But in terms of the actual data coming from the camera, the actual picture, it's not doing any processing. It's not even debayering it. Like, when you take a picture with your phone or your point and shoot camera, your P1000, each pixel is pre-filtered for a specific color, red, green, or blue, in most normal cameras. And the camera itself is doing onboard processing to interpolate the color picture from a matrix of red, green, or blue pixels, and it's doing some fancy math and saying, okay, I think it's like this. This camera doesn't even do that. It's not even capable of that. It just delivers raw pixel counts. You have to know for yourself, oh, this pixel was red, this pixel was blue, this pixel was green. You have to reassemble that yourself. So this camera is actually less capable of faking anything than your typical consumer camera. Anyway, just thought I'd point that out.
And of course, after all of this is said and done, the only excuse that a flat earther could come up with is, no, but my holy book.
That's pretty much what I saw Iggy do the whole time during the stream he had with MC Toon. It was pretty unenlightening in terms of Iggy's responses. It was Joel just smiling and saying, nah, they're lying.
It's like he gets off on being wrong. But speaking of being wrong, what's the next one?
Okay, so the next one is the factual impossibility to ever see Jupiter or any planet beyond it with the naked eye or optical telescope. But a world community of honest, trustworthy, scientific scientists. Oh boy, I love that. I'm going to have to add that to my tagline or something. I'm a scientific scientist. Feels like it's just fine to eternally ignore the inverse square law. No, we do use the inverse square law. We do account for that in our calculations. We'll get to that in a second. While even NASA ridiculously goes on to exaggerate grossly that Jupiter receives only Earth's full moon amount of light, which lights nothing and reflects to nowhere. Okay. This guy's clearly never been outside under a full moon. If you ever go to like a dark sky party, like Chiefland Astronomy Village, and you go out there on a moonless night, you want to see what dark looks like, your eyes can adapt to even that low level of light with just starlight and the light glow of the atmosphere above you. Then you bring the moon to that, it's like blinding blindingly bright. You can read the newspaper off of it. It's crazy. So yeah, suggest you go outside and actually see it. But furthermore, he claims that, oops, I didn't mean to close that window. Hang on one second. He claims that it is impossible to see Jupiter because it's too far away and would be too dim. Well, there's formulae for actually calculating exactly how bright Jupiter and the other planets should be. And I've used that before. I've put that into my spreadsheets before with planets like Venus, because people, there are a lot of conspiracy theorists out there who claim Venus is too bright every time it comes around. They like to say, oh, no, Venus should not be that bright. It wasn't that bright last time I saw it. Yeah, it was. You just forgot how bright it is. But if you go to a book like this one, so I'm going to cite this book right here that I've shown on my channel before. Oops, I don't want the audio there. This is The Solar System, Volume 3 by Gerard P. Kuiper. Yes, that Kuiper is in the Kuiper Belt Kuiper, right? So this book right here contains formulae for calculating the apparent magnitude of various planets. And the generic formula is this right here, V equals V1, 0. That's basically the brightness at a standardized distance of 1 AU. Plus 5 times the log of RD plus delta MA, which delta MA is a correction for the variation in the magnitude of the phase angle. Basically, this is the formula right here, and it's a logarithmic scale because the apparent magnitude scale is logarithmic. But basically, this is your generic formula for calculating the brightness of planets, and then it gets into the phase angle formula for each planet. This book contains the formulae for all the planets you might want to calculate, and goes into quite a lot of detail on the equations and the calculations of it.
You can't use math.
Yeah, exactly.
Math is Freemason propaganda.
Well, and so what I showed in this video was that pulling these equations out of this book, which is a very dusty, very old book, and using them today, you can measure the brightness, and guess what? It matches. It matches the expectations. So yeah, the planets are just as bright as they should be, and you can do the friggin' math yourself. Amazing.
Yeah, but that's right? Assuming that flat earthers can actually do math.
Right. So yeah, no, that's wrong. Let's see here. The lack of even, I love this one, the lack of even depicting any space station or shuttle on their polar orbits traversing Earth's face 17 times faster than its completely inaccurate nothing spin speed.
Hang on. Okay, hang on. The space station isn't in a polar orbit, you dumb bitch. All right, I'm back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. He claims that since day one, the ISS tracker websites have ever only depicted the ISS as a 1 orbit per full day, as therefore 1,000 miles per hour instead of 16 times per full day. That's completely wrong and a lie. And as you said, they're not in a polar orbit. I don't know if he knows what a polar orbit is.
He doesn't. He fucking doesn't.
So let's
he just heard it one time and said, you know what? I bet that's what the space station's doing. Yeah. Didn't even bother looking it up. I mean, fucking Google it.
So here's heavensabove.com. Love this website. Great website for tracking ISS. You can go there right now and you can see where ISS is, right? So this is one of these ISS tracking websites. Now, what they provide on here is the actual orbital elements for each satellite that's in their database. So they have the TLE file or the two-line element file listed right here. Now, on every two-line element file of any given satellite, the last decimal number shown, this part right here, is the number of orbits per day. That's what this number means. That's what's being fed into this website. That's what it's showing. What is that number right there? What does that say? 15.499, blah, blah, blah?
15.499.
Yeah. Just about almost 16. That's the number of times ISS is orbiting per day, according to this website, in direct contradiction to what he just said. Now, we measured the velocity and altitude of the space station ourselves, And so you can find this on versions of this video on both of our channels. And I've got my spreadsheet here for calculating the velocity, the altitude of the space station. This is the newest version that was derived from our calculation of the distance to the sun, where I also tracked geostationary and GPS satellites. And so I plugged in our data from our video on this, and it gives an orbital velocity of about 7.7 kilometers a second, give or take a little bit. Now, this is trying to measure the velocity in half a second as it crosses the moon, but so it's going to be a little bit limited in accuracy just by the split-second nature of our measurement. But even here,
not enough resolution for it to be super accurate, but
right.
It's close enough to make the point that we're talking like over 7 kilometers per second.
Exactly. So yeah, it's going around the Earth a few times a day, more than once a day, and it is at the roughly 17,000 mile an hour velocity that it's supposed to be at. Okay, next point. The overwhelming inability of the space station cameras forgetting to include Earth's atmosphere, and I love this because he immediately contradicts himself, and also changing its magnitude on the days, not weeks or months, when they do feel like including it again. So wait, which is it? Did they forget to include it, or do they sometimes include it?
So is it there or isn't it?
And changing its magnitude, I'm going to try to read between the lines, which I shouldn't do, but I'm going to say maybe he means the thickness. I don't know.
You're trying to decipher flurf, dude. That's a dangerous game.
I know.
Because they're just going to say that you're strawmanning them, even though they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh yeah, I love these types of images from the station.
Oh yeah, this is a new one too. This was taken fairly recently, so July 26th, so just a couple days ago. So you can go check out this website, Gateway to Astronaut Photography of Earth, and they have all the newest pictures that the astronauts have taken. So yeah, here's a picture of Earth, and what's that there? Oh, it's the atmosphere, and I can even see the Pleiades through it. So that's air glow. This is what we on the Earth have to deal with as astronomers. So remember how I said earlier, if you go out to a dark sky site like Chiefland, where there's no ambient light pollution, even on a moonless night, you're still going to be able to see, not just because of the starlight, but because of this green stuff in this picture right here, the air glow. Air itself has its own light that it provides at night, and you can actually see that visibly. You just have to get away from all these cities like this. You can see in the picture all these cities lighting up the sky that make it impossible for you to see unless you get out to truly rural dark skies. But I've seen it. It's beautiful. It's there, and you can see it in this picture from the astronauts. However,
and also I have to butt in here to show people one thing. I'm gonna exit solo mode real quick and start screen sharing on my own here. But there is a video that also demonstrates this, and it is absolutely beautiful. So let me show this shot real quick. Y'all have probably seen it already, but it's just us. It's so good. This is a view from the International Space Station, and we're seeing a rocket launch from the space station, and this is just beautiful. And look at that. You can see the atmosphere.
Oh, sure can.
and watch this view right here from this rocket that's now trailing the station. Oh yes, that is just
staging.
That is awesome.
Beautiful.
And here's the best part. You can actually see that stage re-enter the atmosphere later.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hang on. Wait for it. Give it a moment. Right there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Sure Look at that burning up. Oh so fucking good. I love this shit. So much. So this goes along exactly with what you're saying, Astronomy Live. But when I heard that, I immediately remembered this video, and I was like, I got to show this.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. The other thing I want to point out is, no, you're not going to see a consistent thickness because guess what? They use different cameras. They use different lenses. Here's another shot taken a few days ago as well. This is either an orbital sunrise or an orbital sunset. And yeah, it looks thicker, for two reasons. One, totally different lighting conditions. You got the sun starting to come up through the atmosphere there, making it overexposed and completely white. You also have a slightly different focal length of lens. It's actually slightly longer focal length, so that also contributes to making it look thicker. One other thing I want to point out about this beautiful photo, though, all these little streaks. There's little stars. You can see the stars are also slightly streaked. It's not perfectly steady, but you can also see thin, longer streaks. Some going this way. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Some going diagonal. Some of them going horizontal in different directions to the stars. You know what those are? Satellites. Other satellites. You know, the ones that flat earthers say that you never see from the space station? Yeah, you do. You just have to know where to look. Okay, so let's see. What else we got here? So we've dealt with the space station's velocity. We've dealt with the atmosphere from the space station.
And we also observed some rocket porn in the process.
Yes, isn't a beautiful thing?
It was very beautiful. I'm sorry, that shot was just chef's kiss.
So then he goes on about the Big Bang Theory, and then he says, maybe you're aware of the experiment or demonstration that shows matter multiplies, duplicates, or procreates because no one else knows of any such things. Oh, okay. So
yeah, let me also just bunch up these two. It was 7 and 8, the Big Bang Theory and string theory. Motherfucker, you can't even get the shape of the Earth right. Who the fuck do you think you are thinking that you get to talk about the Big Bang Theory or string theory? You don't even know basic fucking geometry, and you want to, jump ahead to the frontiers of science? What the actual fuck?
Yeah, I would like to give an example here. So
this is what we call the Dunning-Kruger effect. Or what does MC Toon call it? People who occupy top left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's top left. This is top left right here. I mean, so like I said, you have no right to talk about the Big Bang Theory or string theory, or quantum gravity or any of these very advanced disciplines. You have no right to talk about them so long as you don't even know the shape of the fucking Earth. You think the Earth is flat. You can't even get the fucking shape of the Earth right, and you want to go straight to the frontiers of science. Like, shut the fuck up. Seriously, shut the fuck up. You're not qualified, not even fucking close, to talk about these subjects, much less to bitch about them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so to me, like, it doesn't even matter because it's a totally different subject, and you don't have to even accept the Big Bang Theory or string theory to at least agree on the shape of the Earth, the general size of the solar system, and then from there we can start to talk about the distances to other stars, etc., etc., etc. But long before you get to Big Bang Theory or string theory, how about we agree on the shape and size of the Earth? How about we start there?
Yeah, this motherfucker hasn't even learned to walk yet, and yet he wants to try and go against Bolt at the fucking Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, it's a different subject, and you can have disagreements on that subject and still agree on the size and shape of the Earth. And I'll give you a very well-known example, very, very well-known example within the amateur astronomy community, John Dobson. So, for those who don't know, John Dobson was the inventor of the Dobsonian telescope. Now, if you're into amateur astronomy at all and you've looked into buying a telescope, you've most likely heard about the Dobsonian telescope. It's a very easy to make, affordable Newtonian telescope on what is essentially a lazy Susan with a tilt mechanism so that it can do altitude azimuth tracking. Well, generally, these are made without any kind of tracking motors. And again, you can build them very cheaply, and that's why he came up with it as a way of popularizing astronomy so that people could build their own telescopes even if they didn't have the funds to own a large telescope. Like the 11-inch I got next to me, it's not cheap. It's not a cheap piece of equipment, right? But the beautiful thing about astronomy is you can get into it at various levels of financial commitment. And the Dobsonian telescope takes almost no financial commitment compared to other designs. And so he was very big into sidewalk astronomy and bringing these big homemade telescopes out on the sidewalks to show people things that they didn't even realize they could see with equipment that they could feasibly attain. And he would hold telescope making sessions where he would show people how to make these things. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Let's get back to why this is relevant to this discussion. This is a man who did not believe in the Big Bang Theory, believe it or not. For all the work he did promoting astronomy, he had his own belief system and his own religious beliefs. And my understanding is I forget which religion he was in, but basically he had his own belief system about the nature of how the universe came to be. And in his own Wikipedia says it right here. Dobson claimed the Big Bang model did not hold up to scrutiny, and instead it advocated a non-standard cosmology. So he had his own belief system about all of that, and that's fine. But he would tell you that the Earth is round and that the solar system is just about the size that NASA says it is. Like, you can measure these things as we've done now. We've measured the distance to Mars. We've measured the distance to the sun. And we didn't have to go to NASA to find out what they said about it. We figured it out for ourselves. So you don't have to adhere to the Big Bang Theory or string theory in order to agree that flat earthers are wrong. So how about we start there and actually stay on subject?
I often say that I would rather a flat earther be a geocentrist, because at least with geocentrism, they agree that the Earth is fucking round.
Exactly.
I mean, we're off to a bad start, but it could be worse. You could be a flat earther, so that kind of thing. But it's like, start with the basics. You got to learn to crawl before you can walk. You're not going to immediately enter the sprinting competitions at the fucking Olympics. Just stop. Fucking stop. You're diving in the deep end and you don't even know how to fucking swim yet. You got floaties. You go slow your fucking roll.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so next thing, number 9, solar eclipses that only have a 70-mile wide umbra and have a penumbra at all. Not sure what he means by have a penumbra at all, but okay. Sorry, but that could only ever match a flat Earth model and never the ball model. Again, if he had done his homework at all and looked at my channel, he would have found out that I have actually modeled the size of Earth's shadow and the moon's shadow, and I've modeled out total solar eclipses caused by the moon and predicted that the moon's shadow from the 2017 eclipse that I observed had a shadow 70 miles wide, 112 kilometers, or about 70 miles in diameter. And so I published this spreadsheet in this video 5 years ago, before I observed the eclipse in 2017, and predicted where I would be able to see the eclipse from, and predicted the length of the eclipse, all that good stuff, using my own spreadsheet, my own calculations for the position of the moon. And from that, and from knowing the size of the moon, I was able to predict the moon's umbral shadow should be 70 kilometers. So my own model of the Earth-Moon system actually predicts that. So he's dead wrong, and if he had done his homework, he would see that actually that's exactly what I predicted. So I actually used the spreadsheet to generate a prediction of the size of the eclipse shadow and the path of the eclipse that I put out onto Google Earth here. But these pins are derived from the output of my own spreadsheet. That's not Google telling me where the eclipse is going to be. That's me telling me where the eclipse is going to be. I'm just mapping it out onto Google. But guess what? It matched, and I was able to observe the eclipse just fine. So
and this was already on your channel. He could have found it.
He could have found it.
Hang on, go back to that video one more time. It's like, so he could have just done a brief scroll, not even watched the video, but then I see the title, "Get Ready for the Great American Eclipse." And being that he's talking about eclipses in that batch of word vomit he sent you, I believe that that would have caught his eye if he even bothered to fucking look.
Yeah, exactly.
This shows that flat earthers do not do their homework. And I know, shocker.
I know. So if you had clicked on the spreadsheet there in the description, guess what? It takes you to my spreadsheet. Oh, look at that. Diameter of the moon's umbral shadow during the 2017 eclipse, 112.9 kilometers, about 70 miles wide. Yep, that's exactly what I predict. And you can download the spreadsheet yourself, and you can see exactly how it's calculated from the ground up. NASA didn't tell me how to do this. I figured it out for myself.
There you go.
Okay, next. The tide explanation is the moon tugging on our ocean only, not lakes, us, nor tree leaves as a pudding skin, and not just backwards rain. Backwards rain. I guess he thinks the moon's tidal force should be so strong it would pull the rain on the near side in the wrong direction. Does he understand?
We're gonna have some fucking problems if the gravity is that strong.
I know.
We're gonna have some fucking problems.
Yeah. I think he needs to actually do some more homework on what causes the tide and how tidal force works. It's not that hard to calculate, but what comes into that calculation is the size of the object experiencing that tidal force, and it's all about the differential between the gravity on the near side and the gravity on the far side. Earth is big enough that makes a big enough of a difference that you do get significant tidal force from the moon, but a cloud with rain, no, that's not gonna, tree leaves. He thinks tree leaves should experience significant tidal force. Well, if you do any amount of homework and look into how to calculate the tidal force, no, our model does not predict that tree leaves should experience significant tidal force from the moon.
Yeah, no, I would love to see him even attempt to do the math on that. It would be hilarious.
It would be, but I'm sure he would immediately say, "Well, math is a conspiracy." Well, okay, then
so don't even have it. Made by the Freemason Illuminati lizard people, and they're all controlled by Joe Biden.
Okay. The next, the insistence of a barycenter. Well, I mean, it just sort of naturally falls out from the model, don't it? But no, must be absurdly dramatic effects noticed by all of humanity's existence yet. I don't know exactly what absurd dramatic effects he expects from having a barycenter. I guess he thinks we're all going to be like sloshed around like ice in a soda cup or something, but that's not how that works.
Yeah. Also, I want to break away from this just for 30 seconds and read something. JM misspelled his own name on his taxes and went to jail. I'm just going to let that hang there. Please continue.
What, Siri? We're talking JM Truth?
I'm sure he's outstanding in his field.
Well, it might be the prison yard at this point, sounds like. I don't know.
Again, we're just going to let that hang there. just let it hang there.
Okay, next. Not only perfectly round circles ever presented in almost 60 years of Earth from space pictures. Okay, stop right there for a second. I seriously doubt he has actually done any measurements of said pictures. I mean, if you look back at any of my pictures of, say, Jupiter or Saturn, and you just ask him the question, is this a perfect circle? If he fell for it, he'd say, yeah. And then you just take, GIMP or Photoshop or whatever, and you just overlay a perfect circle on top of it. Guess what? You're going to find out it's oblate. So is the Earth. It's just very, very tiny now.
If I do this and this and this and that and click this.
Yeah.
This is a screenshot, by the way, from Scott Manley's video. Actually, it's two screenshots that I put together. And what Scott Manley did was he took a picture of the Earth from the Himawari satellite, he cut the image in half, flipped it on its side, and then put the two halves together. And as you can see, there is a misalignment, but it's very slight.
Yeah, and that's because Earth is not a perfect sphere.
Yeah, and again, this is on Scott Manley's channel where he actually shows him doing the slicing of the images and putting them together. So I just took a picture, or I should say I just took a screenshot of it and presenting it here. But like I said, if you go to Scott Manley's YouTube channel, you can find out how he actually, did the slicing and putting it together so you can see the whole process. But this is what you get. As you can see, yes, it is oblate. It is there, but it's subtle.
It's subtle. It's very slight. And, for simplistic purposes of just getting some rough numbers on, say, the distance to Mars, the distance to the sun, you can treat it as a perfect sphere as we did in our videos, and it's close enough for general purposes. But when you get
Yeah.
down into the weeds, it is detectable. It's definitely oblate. It's just slight, but he hasn't done any homework. Like we've already established, he's clearly not looked at any of my videos. He clearly doesn't even know that what I've already published directly contradicts several of his points here. So he obviously hasn't also done the work on these Earth from space pictures to see whether or not they actually show Earth as a perfect sphere, because the truth is they don't.
He hasn't even bothered to look at Scott Manley's video, even though I'm sure it was sent to him before.
Yeah, and he already had this discussion.
Sure of it. Like a lot of flat earthers know of that video's existence. I find it very hard to believe that he doesn't know of its existence.
Yeah. He also finishes his statement off by saying, "But now it's okay that we decided that we're suddenly oval with no regard of any effect on any and all of our satellites." No, we do know that the oblateness of the Earth does torque the orbits of satellites. And I covered this in another one of my videos. Now, this is a little more of a deeper cut, but in this video from a few years ago, where I was debunking Claudia Albers, reviewing the results of the SDO eclipse prediction, part 2, how not to calculate the orbit of SDO. I believe this was after she tried to respond to my prediction, where I did the math. And so I tracked the Solar Dynamics Observatory, which is a sun-observing spacecraft, and I tracked it myself with my own telescope to solve for the orbit and predict when it would go into Earth's shadow. She was claiming that it wasn't going into Earth's shadow, but instead the sun itself was being drained by Nibiru, Planet X, whatever she wanted to call it. Like, she had this whole crazy conspiracy theory about it. And one of her points was that if this was a natural effect of the satellite going to Earth's shadow, which it does twice a year, that it should reoccur at the same time every year, but it doesn't. The dates when this happens drifts over time. And she was saying that that was evidence that it wasn't what I said it was. Well, no, that's actually evidence that Earth is oblate. What's happening is actually what we call nodal precession. So if you were to watch this video, what it shows is that the red circle of this satellite's orbit actually precesses over time, and as a result, it will appear to drift around the yellow circle. So at one point at the start of the video, that red circle intersected where the red arrow was, but over time, even just over a matter of hours and days, it starts to drift away from that point, and that causes the alignment of the orbit to change over time. So if you have a satellite in a geostationary orbit, geostationary is one situation where it's directly over the equator. SDO is not actually geostationary, it's geosynchronous, which is, one of those actually things, but really what it means is it does not stay over the equator. It drifts north and south of the equator, and as a result of that, the orbit gets torqued by the fact that Earth is not actually a perfect sphere, and that causes this drift over time of the nodes of the orbit, the points on the orbit where it intersects the equator. So because SDO is geosynchronous, not geostationary, it actually does experience this torquing over time, and the dates where it goes into Earth's shadow each year changes over time as a result of that. So I addressed that in this video here. So no, Iggy, we actually do know that this does have an effect on the orbits of our satellites that is accounted for, that is a known effect, and you can see it. I've seen it myself by tracking SDO over the years to debunk Claudia Albers. So that is a real thing.
I just want to say it's a Claudia Albers PhD physicist or some shit like that. The way she says it, it's like nails in
it really is. It's so irritating. Anyway,
and also keep this in mind that my only experience debunking Claudia was when she was bitching that one of the SpaceX Dragon capsules didn't have a locking mechanism on the door, when the spacecraft that she was bitching about being, insufficient for space travel was an engineering test article, and she didn't even bother doing enough research to figuring out that Dragon spacecraft was never meant to go to space.
Yeah, she had some kooky beliefs regarding one of the SpaceX launches that went into sunlight. It was one of those early morning launches that hit the sunlight, and she was claiming it was like debris from Planet X or something. I'm not kidding. Like that was her claim. And at one point, I had a video on a backup channel where I took her audio of her narrating this whole paper describing it, and I just had my video playing in the background showing that it actually started off as a rocket launch before it got to the part where she was talking about it like being Planet X debris raining down on Earth. Anyways, hilarious. So
it's very, very funny, and also if you guys would like to see more videos of Claudia Albers being debunked, I do know that Astronomy Live already has a bunch of videos already uploaded. Maybe we'll put some more in the description. Who knows? I'll think about it. Anyway, what's the next one?
Yeah. Well, if you put I'll give you the links that I've got here that respond to Iggy's points, and one of them is literally like an hour-long response to Claudia Albers, because that's where I talk about the torquing effect on the orbits of satellites. All right, final point 13: Earth from space pictures and video of only ever the Mercator projection is relayed. What?
What?
Yeah. My BS to English translators failing me on that one. And yet, only a Gall-Peters type of projection would actually be the only possible procurement. The only what? Okay.
This is why I'm thinking Chat GPT. He basically just typed in the chat.
I think that's an insult to Chat GPT. Honestly, I think Chat GPT would write better English than this, even if you tried to break it.
But not if you type in the Chat GPT, hey, what are fancy sounding words that make me sound smart? And it just vomits out a whole bunch of options. I mean, to me, you can do that to make yourself sound more photosynthesis.
To me, this strikes me as like he sat there in Word and like did a find replace on words that he thought were too simplistic, and he tried to crack open with the source and just insert something else that doesn't actually work, like procurement.
Shakespeare.
Procurement? What, did someone put in a PO order on this? What's the deal? So I guess he thinks that only a Gall-Peters projection should work on the Earth. I mean, I don't know how else to interpret this statement, but you all also plenty happy with our many pictures and videos of almost any shade of lighter blues, as we must regularly have a swimming pool ocean throughout any year. What in the flat Earth is this even trying to say? It's so bad. It is so bad, guys. But I'm going to take this to mean he thinks that the Mercator projection shouldn't work on the Earth, and that only a Gall-Peters projection should be possible. I mean, that's the only thing I can get out of this in trying to translate it to English. Okay, so
I mean, he's obviously talking out of his ass. He's using words and he doesn't know the meaning of them. He's just trying to sound smart.
Yeah, and he's failing miserably. So
yeah, I mean, you think. I mean, that's why I use that joke. Sometimes I use fancy words to make myself sound more photosynthesis. It's that kind of shit. And so basically, you type in the Chat GPT words that make me sound like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Chat GPT goes bleh, and then he goes, "Ooh, look at that! I'm taking all this shit."
Yeah, exactly. So here's a video from a few years ago of Earth and the Moon transiting the Earth, as seen from Discover with the Epic camera. You guys remember this, right? With the Moon transiting the Earth. This one, a lot of flat earthers hated that, right? So so much butter. So I took the raw data from the Discover spacecraft on these pictures. The original, I think they were in HDF5 format, and I basically took that data and encoded in that data are the latitude and longitude of every pixel in this image. So for every pixel that has the Earth in it, there's a corresponding latitude and longitude value associated with that pixel in the original raw file. So I took that and did a very crude Python program to reproject that into a Mercator projection. And, wouldn't you know, it works. It works. Now, it distorts the moon. It distorts the moon because, of course, well, the moon's, when the moon is over a given latitude and longitude, especially at the limb, you get foreshortening effects. And so it's going to stretch the heck out of the moon, because the moon's not actually experiencing that foreshortening because it's not the Earth. But when it's over that part of the Earth, it gets stretched out. But what you can see here, number one, yeah, the Mercator projection works. You can definitely reproject the Earth into a Mercator projection, and yeah, you could see in the previous video, like that's what the Earth should look like, and you can reproject it into Mercator. And when you do that, what do you also see? You see the fact the clouds are moving. Yeah, they always like to say that the clouds aren't moving. Like, oh, this is so fake. Look at it. It's so fake. I can't see the clouds moving. They're not moving. Why aren't the clouds moving? Why aren't the clouds moving? Yeah, the clouds are moving. You guys didn't bother to stabilize for the rotation of the Earth. But if you do, if you reproject it into a Mercator projection, you could use Gallpeters if you want, I suppose, but you don't have to. Mercator will work just fine, and you will see the clouds move. What do you know?
Well, that was a nice email.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? So I think we've debunked that point by point. I'm pretty happy with that.
You're pretty happy with that?
Yeah.
So am I. Okay, so that was a thing, and now we're going to get on to another thing, and it's a thing that Astronomy Live made and placed on my channel. I would like to say thank you very much, Astronomy Live. So let me go ahead and screen share something. So how many of y'all in the live chat know about our good friend Bev? You know, that Bev guy who's obsessed with the word level. How many of y'all are familiar with him? I'm gonna assume everyone is familiar with Bev, because I mean, how could you not be familiar with that intellectually dishonest piece of shit? And you know, level, horizontal, and stuff like that. And if you ask him what the shape of the Earth is, he'll only tell you what it's not. He'll say, the Earth is not flat. The Earth is not flat. But of course, he's being very deceptive with his language there, because what he means by flat isn't the same as what everyone else means by flat when we're talking about flat Earth. Because he is defining flat as in no terrain whatsoever. Flat Earthers do not deny the existence of mountains, you intellectually dishonest piece of shit. So when we are talking about flat Earth, we're talking about a flat plane with topography. But he says the Earth is not flat, as in, oh, I'm not saying that the Earth doesn't have topography. Well, we're not talking about fucking topography. So Bev has a history of being very, very, very dishonest. But not just dishonest, but also incredibly stupid and wrong. And for some reason, somehow, some way, Bev has managed to recruit people that might just be as fucking dumb as him, maybe even more so, but has done so in a way that makes them want to gobble his nuts. And I believe I'm seeing the beginning of a cult forming here. You know, basically, Bev is their Charles Manson, you know, to put it bluntly. And so where is all this coming from? Where is all this coming from? Well, I'll tell you where this is coming from. It's coming from a dude by the name of Mike. And Astronomy Live, I know that you just face-palmed hearing that name.
Yeah, so this is a dude who seems to have Bev's belief that I guess spherical trig doesn't work, and that non-Euclidean geometry doesn't work. First of all, like it's worth pointing out that in my latest video that I put up on your channel, the armillary sphere video, the supplement to our other videos, this doesn't even really require the use of spherical trig to get it done. Like, this is just basic stuff, just figuring out the size of a sphere using the angle of the pole star from the sphere. And as I showed, like, this works in tabletop. This works in reality with, say, a sphere 6 inches in diameter. It works just fine. And It works just well with it just works fine with the Earth as well. Now, once you've determined the size of that sphere, you can determine the size of the Earth. And once you've determined the size of the Earth, you could do things like figure out the core distance between two distant locations on the Earth based on their coordinates. Now, in this video, I just used positions that were separated across the sphere by about 70 degrees using the markings on the sphere. But say in our video looking at the distance between Earth and the Sun, where we measured first the distance to Mars, to figure out the chord distance, we have to look at our coordinate locations and then determine the angular separation of those coordinate locations, and then use that chord distance to figure out the distance of Mars, and to do all this stuff with, we talk about angle A a lot, the angular separation between looking at one observer from a position on the sphere to Mars up in the sky. Well, to do all that, you start to get into spherical trig, and you start to need spherical trigonometry. So this video is just forming the foundation before we even get to the complex stuff. This is the basics, and they have trouble with the basics.
And keep this in mind, guys. Keep this in mind. We're going to tackle this dude because of two things he got wrong. Because I believe this is the same dude that is also posting on Twitter nonstop, and I'm more than happy to continue proving him wrong with a simple image that I made, and I'll get to that in a second. But let me just show you guys this. So it says Mike Jones -WX7GN, whatever the fuck. Anyway, this dude has been spamming the ever-living shit out of my comment section. I have had to delete a shit ton of spam from my comment section just to make the shit fucking readable. He even says, and like I said, I deleted all this, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. He even said he would start off new comments with, "This is thread number 5. This is thread number 6. This is thread number 7," or whatever fucking number he was on. I'm like, no, you don't get to pull that shit in my comment section. Fuck off. And so but with that being said, I wanted to highlight just how obsessed this guy is over this video. This video I knew was going to piss off flat earthers, and of course Bev stands would be in that category. I didn't think this guy would literally be losing so much sleep over it. Like, he has been obsessing over this video. So I have to say, Astronomy Live, I wanted you to milk some flat earthers for some butthurt, but you brought the entire fucking farm with this one. I'm getting all kinds of milk. I mean, I'm now getting chocolate milk from brown cows. I didn't know that was a fucking thing, but you proved me wrong apparently. So with that being said, I just wanted to scroll down and just look at the fucking threads that this guy has made. I mean, we're talking 71 replies. We're talking fucking 27 replies. This one already is like up to 31 replies. This one is up to 6 replies. Now this one started by Requiem, but he's in here. But that's not even the most that is in this comment section. Here's this one, 275 replies. This motherfucker has no life. And he has made it his mission to cup and stroke Bev to the point where he is willing to fight for him in my comment section because our video debunks a lot of Bev's assertions about making measurements on a sphere. And so Mike Jones is like the ultimate fanboy of Bev to the point where he is even willing to be factually, objectively wrong, which can be found with a simple Google search, and not care about it so long as it pleases his Bev sugar daddy. So being that we're here, I decided to highlight this one comment, and this is going to be very, very quick. He posts here, "Hey, little buddy, one of your subs thinks spherical trigonometry is non-Euclidean. You have 3 choices. Ignore this post and admit you're a coward." Well, I guess we're talking about it, so not looking good for you there, dumbass. "Affirm this post, deny this post, choose wisely." So then I asked him way down here. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. All right, here we go. Yeah, right there. So I say here, "You seem to be confused. Let me try this a different way. You believe that spherical trigonometry is Euclidean true or false. And I said all replies from you will be deleted unless it is a direct answer to that question with a whole bunch of kissy emojis. That was 8 hours ago. 8 hours ago. He actually didn't answer that question directly until 3 hours ago. So that entire time, over those multiple hours, he refused to answer a simple true or false questions and opted to type paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of text, knowing full well it was going to be deleted.
Good
Make
grief,
that make sense to me.
Oh my gosh, that strikes me as just there's something wrong
Unhinged?
there. Yeah, that's unhinged. That's just, whoo, boy. Man, there's some serious tears going on there. Some serious.
Yeah,
hurt.
we're talking salt. This guy bought Hot Pockets just salt. It's literally Hot Pockets, but filled with only salt. This dude is drinking salt, nothing but salt. It's all salt, and he will die mad, a salty bitch. So salt. But keep this in mind. He finally answered true. You're taking false. When is the debate, little buddy? First of all, I'm not going to debate this guy. There is no debate. There is no debate. You are literally stating a false statement, and that's it. There is no debate. I'm not going to waste my fucking time with this guy, especially after he spent all this time spamming the living shit out of my comment section. So after this stream goes live, I'm basically going to say, you know what? Fuck you. You don't get the privilege of spamming the living fuck out of my comment section and spewing, Bev's butthurt on his behalf. And just not going to happen. I've already kicked your sugar daddy's ass on my own channel before with his dishonest redefinition of words. I don't need to do it again with your sorry ass. And obviously, you got some issues if you've been spending hours upon hours upon hours typing paragraphs and paragraphs of shit, knowing full well it was going to get deleted when all you had to do was type one word, either true or false. But here's another reason why we're not going to have a debate on this is because no debate is actually needed. So let's go back to this original comment right here. Hey, little buddy, one of your subs thinks spherical trigonometry, which is the trigonometry that we did to find angle A. Remember that, guys? Angle A. So one of your subs thinks spherical trigonometry is non-Euclidean. You have three choices. Ignore this post. So basically, he's saying that, spherical trigonometry, you think it's non-Euclidean, you fucking dumbass. And we see right up here that he says true to the question that you believe that spherical trigonometry is Euclidean. He says true. Okay, so why are we not having a debate on this subject? That is the question. And once again, it's because we don't need to, because I have a tab. Let's read this together, shall we? Section 9.5 in this link over here, I'll paste it in the comment section or not in the comment section, in the description later on. But it says here, for 9.5 non-Euclidean geometry, an example of non-Euclidean geometry can be seen by drawing lines on a sphere or other round object. Straight lines that are parallel at the equator can meet at the poles. This triangle has an angle sum of 90 plus 90 plus 50 equals 230 degrees. An example of non-Euclidean geometry. And as you can see in this image, in case flat earthers need a fucking picture, and I know Bev stands do, this is a spherical triangle. Now, Astronomy Live, quick question. Didn't we have an explanation of spherical trigonometry within the video about measuring the distance to the sun?
Yes, we did. And I tried to keep it simple because I originally had, I don't know, probably another 10, 20 minutes at least of my describing and deriving the equations for the spherical trigonometry that we did. And you told me to cut it out because they're not going to understand it anyway. Isn't that about right?
Yeah, correct. And, and this is the really difficult thing about making videos like this, because if you include absolutely everything, the video is going to be 3 hours long, and then no one is going to watch it. We had to cut out a lot of stuff that we wanted to include in the video, but we had to make those choices, and this is why we wanted to have at least the option for follow-up videos later on, which we did with our supplement series. So we already have supplement 1. If there's a supplement 2 that needs to be made, then so fucking be it, and you'll be able to find that in the description. But we had to cut out some stuff just for time, because the video was already, over 40 fucking minutes long. We didn't want to go much longer than that if we could help it.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to explain, and really all I was trying to do was just explain how we do angle A, because angle A feeds into a lot of the other equations that are in my spreadsheet. Like, at the end of the day, I used spherical trigonometry quite extensively and cut back on the explanation to just use a simple test case, as it were, an example of the spherical trig that was done for that video. But there's a number of different areas where that same equation is used, and it's all very well established stuff. It's the spherical law of sines and cosines. This is well established stuff.
Yep.
And
just to get back to it, when he was when this Bev Stan, this Mike douchebag, was trying to bring this up, he was bringing this up on a video that did not use spherical trigonometry because it wasn't needed. However, once you have the size of the sphere established, you can then use spherical trigonometry, which is exactly what we did in the distance to the sun video. And this is exactly why we titled this video as a supplement. That word right there tells you that it's a supplement to something else. And you can find what that something else actually is by looking at the fucking description.
Yeah, and to be clear, like, this is a simplified example because of the nature of the way it's set up, where in this case, the observers are all on a single line of longitude, essentially, at just different latitudes in order to measure the size of the sphere, right? And so it's like I mentioned in the distance from the sun video. In an ideal case where you have your observers directly north and south of each other, and the only difference in angle is along that altitude over the horizon or zenith distance, then yeah, it's a very simple case, and you don't have to break out your spherical trigonometry equations to figure it out. But when you have a target that is not in that ideal configuration, and your observers are not directly north and south of each other, then, well, you got to start to break out the spherical trig to figure out exactly what the angles are. But this was supposed to be a simple example to make it easy to understand how we can find the size of a sphere. And that's exactly what I did in reality. I drove due north and due south to 2 different locations to figure out the size of the Earth, using locations that actually were due north and south of each other, and actually looking due north at the North Celestial Pole. Now, this Mike guy, he commented, like, one of the original comments, I think, on that video was actually asking about these lasers that are all pointing at that North Celestial Pole there. He asked, it was an innocent looking question, like, are these supposed to represent lasers that are intersecting the same object? And I'm like, yeah, it's what you would get with, the red lines are pointing at the artificial pole star. So in this video, this tabletop experiment, in reality, what I've got is a laser diode on the north pole of this armillary sphere, and it's shining on the ceiling, and I'm taking readings of where that dot is on the ceiling in order to figure out the size of the sphere. So this was a CG model just illustrating how the altitude azimuth coordinate system works from observer locations on different locations on the side of the sphere. And I've got the red line representing lasers, or, basically the altitude or zenith distance of that North Celestial Pole star in this model, and they are intersecting. But he was like, well, these lines don't intersect. And I was trying to explain, for the CG model, it's a very wide angle virtual camera lens, and so you get fisheye distortions. You can't just take a straight edge to figure out if they're actually diverging or converging. It should have been good enough. He should have said, okay, I get it, you were just illustrating. But no, nothing about him is an argument in good faith. It's all
Nothing about him is honest. Nothing about
nothing about
him is in good faith. He's basically always looking for some sort of gotcha, even if it means literally redefining words without informing you of the redefinition.
So I said, okay, fine. You want me to extend the lines? I'll extend the lines. And I extended the lines, and I presented him a screenshot from this video. And I said, okay, tell me, do these lines converge or diverge? And it took him a while. He didn't want to answer the question, maybe since the trap. But I had already told him, like, look, you can't just figure this out by taking a straight edge to it because there's wide angle distortion. Trust me, they're all pointing at a pole star, okay? And he's like, no, I don't believe it, right? So I finally got him an answer and say, no, they still diverge. I said, okay, well, I extended the lines. He's like, extend them further. I said, oh, don't worry. I extended them all the way to the point where they converged. And I play the video. And what do you know? Oh my goodness. They converge on a point. How cool is that? Now, now let's see here. Hopefully I can pull this up. Now, here's what he said. Lol, pathetic. Now try it without rotating the camera angle.
As if that would make a fucking difference.
Yeah. And I said,
wow.
Wrong. The camera was not rotated at all, only translated at a fixed distance from the lines. This takes you to another video. Oh, here's Blender. Here's the actual file in Blender, looking with an orthographic perspective from above down at our model, and you can see the little virtual camera to the left of it, that little yellow thing over the table. That's the camera. On the right is a window showing the rotation angles of the camera, 68.6 degrees, blah, 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 blah. That is the rotation of the camera. Notice from the start of this video to the end, those numbers don't change. The numbers highlighted in green, the location, that's what changes. And it's a simple translation up and down as I scroll forward and back in the timeline, up and down the red line to the right. So, okay, I'm going to play it. So as I scroll through the timeline, you can see, the camera moves. It moves along the red lines. It stays at a fixed distance from the red line. So it's not like I'm zooming out to try to make it like it magically converges. Oh, no. It's at a fixed distance from the red lines. All I did was translate the camera along the red lines. That's it. No rotation.
And his response to that was, and let me guess, his response to that was, well, either no response or just pathetic or LOL or some shit like that.
No response. No, zero. This one has 0 comments. He has nothing to say to that.
And go to the one beforehand.
Okay.
And this one was just LOL pathetic. And so this is why Mike Jones is not worth debating. Is because when he gets absolutely blasted out of the fucking water, a lot like how Bev does all the fucking time, he'll just say nuh-uh, or say pathetic, or say that you lost based on absolutely fucking nothing whatsoever other than his own butthurt. I mean, he didn't even bother going onto Google to find out what non-Euclidean geometry actually fucking is and what it means. And he didn't even know that spherical trigonometry is non-Euclidean. Hey, Mike Jones, dumbass. You could have found that out with Google. I'll leave a link for you. Read it, you shit.
Well, and like you said, it's obvious there's no value in having an in-depth discussion with this guy. He's not going to have any kind of meaningful or constructive dialogue with you. If he were, he should be coming to me and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong." Where is that? There's no retraction. There's no admission that he was wrong. There's no apology for him trying to accuse me of deceptively editing the video to make it look like the lines were converging. No, there's none of that. There's none of that. There's no productive discussion to be had here.
And that's a thing. He will not admit when he is wrong, even when it is blatantly obvious. And I just want to illustrate that in one more way. Now, I'm just making a guess here. I do not know if this is true or not, but I believe that Mike is the same dude that's been messaging the absolute shit out of me and you on Twitter. And so on the assumption that it is the same dude, holy shit. But if it's not, it's just a Bev stan doing what Bev stans do. So I'm going to go ahead and show this. and then we'll get to the conclusion when it comes to Bev and his stands. So going on to Twitter, I'm going to show you this screenshot right here, or this screen share right here. So with the video that we show with the lasers going straight up, they made an assertion, a really dumb one, that even though we demonstrated that the methodology works with a tabletop example that we could measure directly, we showed that the methodology works. They said that the methodology only works if you use quote unquote flat earth math. You need a horizontal, Reds. You need a fucking horizontal. Without a horizontal, you can't get any measurements because you don't have a horizontal. And to illustrate the point, I'm just going to say horizontal one more time. Horizontal. So basically, that's over and over and over and over again.
I just want to say that was a scary good impersonation of Bev right there.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I've been dealing with this shit for far too long then. So anyway, so what I did with this is that I posted a challenge. Well, let's just keep that screenshot in mind. We'll keep that screenshot in mind. So they claimed that the methodology was insufficient to measure anything. You cannot find the radius with the methodology that was shown to work in the video that Astronomy Live posted. And I was like, oh, fucking really? Challenge accepted. So what I did was I posted this right here. Let me screen share real quick. All right, it's this one. So I said, today we will see if it's possible to measure the radius of a planet using only surface observations. I will soon post multiple problems of this type. So get those calculators ready and be sure to show your work. Don't worry, it's basic math. And then I made a whole bunch of these problems so that people could try and solve for the radius. As you can see, there is no tangent whatsoever, which would be the horizontal in this diagram. There is no tangent line whatsoever. We're only dealing with, we're measuring from this line, which is our zenith, which can be found directly. So I said, okay, let's assume we're dealing with two observers that are spaced apart by 500 kilometers. We're dealing with the zenith and not the horizontal. Would you be able to find the radius of the Earth if you were able to measure the angle between your zenith and your line going to the north celestial pole? Would you be able to do that? So I gave them some measurements, gave them the distance between observers, and said, fucking have at it. And I did this not once, not twice, but 3 times. And after a while, I got a few responses back. And this is what I pinned on my Twitter. I said, I would like to thank VW or VWolf, Spencer, and Eric for participating in my Find the Radius challenge. You 3 have demonstrated that it's possible to find the radius of a circle/sphere using only surface measurements. Thank you very much. And here you can see the screenshots of all of their submissions. And as you can see, they showed their work and their answer. It all matched perfectly. That was the correct answer. And so what was the Bev Stand's response to that? Well, it was this shit. Great work showing the required perpendicular lines required, Reds. Your boy really let you down, blah, blah, blah. Basically, highlighting the necessity of establishing horizontal for the zenith angle calculations. You can't subtract 90 without it. So obviously that's a bunch of bullshit because I posted right here, find the 90 in any of the following solutions. Oh, there is none. Imagine that. It was almost like the horizontal wasn't needed. Okay, I'm going to stop doing that because that's actually starting to hurt now.
It kind of hurts your voice, yeah.
It does. I mean, I'm not sure how Bev does it. I mean, you know, practice, I guess. You tend to build up a little bit of you tend to build up some endurance when saying horizontal that way. But anyway, I'm going to stop doing that. It fucking hurts. Anyway, so after that, this went on for a while. And when I say a while, let me go ahead and explain why I believe this dude is the same exact dude. Because remember how unhinged that motherfucker was in my comment section? I'm just going to scroll real quick. Still going. We're still going. This is all him. Still going.
My goodness.
Still going. And all I had to do was keep posting the same shit over and over again that immediately debunked him. So this was what I was posting. Can find the zenith directly, plumb bob, or a bubble level. No 90 and naming the following solutions with all angles being from the zenith, therefore no horizontal needed, at Plant Blazer debunked. And this just keeps going and going and going. Motherfucker is like the Energizer Bunny if the Energizer Bunny was hopped up on Mountain Dew, Red Bull, and 5-hour energy shots. Just, it keeps going.
That's not a pixie stick he's snorting there.
No. As you can see, it's still going. It's still going. And right now people might be getting bored, but no, it still keeps going and going and going. It never fucking stops. And so that's why I believe this dude is exactly the same guy, because this motherfucker, just like the dude in my YouTube comment section, can't take a fucking hint. Just because you can establish a horizontal to a vertical, that doesn't mean the horizontal was fucking needed in order to do the calculations in the first place, you dumb piece of shit. And so this is all clearly illustrated by this image right here. A plumb bob will allow you to find the zenith directly without a horizontal. No 90 in any of the following solutions right here. It wasn't needed. These motherfuckers showed their work.
This is why I asked him yesterday, because he claimed that I'm using the horizontal, that I'm using the horizon to align the telescope. And I told him multiple times, no, I'm not. And he just keeps insisting I am. So I said, okay, I've got a bubble level. I put it on the tripod of the telescope. Where's the bubble pointing? What's the bubble pointing at? Because when I'm setting up the telescope, guess what I'm not doing? I'm not sighting on an apparent horizon, ever. That's not how I align the telescope. And it wouldn't work if I did. So I'm taking a bubble level. I'm putting it on the tripod. Where is the bubble facing? And he just kept saying, well, it's level, it's horizontal, and it's horizontal, and there's only one horizon. No. First of all, that's not true. There's a difference between what we call the astronomical horizon, which is just 90 degrees from the zenith. That's all it is. And it's not the same as the apparent horizon. It's not taken to be, it's not assumed to be, and it definitely isn't in real life anyway. That's not the same thing. Whether he likes it or not, there's more than one horizon. The term can mean different things depending on how it's used.
You know, context.
Context matters, right? But that's not the point.
Keep in mind, Bev stands love to redefine shit.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, that's not how the telescope is aligned in the first place. We don't use the apparent horizon. And so the first step, what is it? You've done it yourself. It's to take a bubble level and put it on the tripod, isn't it?
And that's what we did when we did our measurements to Mars.
Exactly. And where does that bubble pointing?
Up.
Straight up. Pointing up. He kept saying, "Oh, it's about the horizon." No, the bubble's not facing the horizon. It's facing.
They just want to fucking push that word horizontal into fucking everything they do, because in their mind, horizontal means flat Earth. They're not going to admit that it does. They're going to say that the Earth isn't flat, but they're talking about terrain. Don't be fooled by their bullshit, guys. They're talking about terrain. By you using the word horizontal by you using the word horizontal or horizon or level or anything like that, they're trying to get you to trip up on your words so that they can insert flat Earth as literally and an unavoidable consequence of using those words. I'm sorry, motherfucker. You cannot define the flat Earth into existence, whether it has topography or not.
No, exactly. And so this is why I kept asking him, where is the ball pointing? And he wouldn't answer me. He would not answer that question.
And that is why I don't feel like having a debate with these schmucks. And that's because they're not going to answer any questions. They're going to redefine words literally mid-sentence. And basically, they're just it's like playing chess with a fucking pigeon. It's going to shit all over the board, fly away, and claim that it won something. And so, motherfucker, if this is the same dude that was on Twitter and also in my comment section, this dude was bouncing back and forth in real time all night, all day. This dude must eat, sleep, breathe, Bev's approval. His dick must taste like curry. It probably does at this point, because that's the only explanation I can come up with, and curry is delicious. So where we go from here? Basically, it's two things. One, it was establishing that spherical trigonometry is non-Euclidean, which I was able to demonstrate with a simple reference. And guess what? It only took me 3 seconds on Google to find it. Try researching, using other resources other than YouTube, dumbass. And I'm also done talking to him in general. I've already wiped the floor with his sugar daddy. I don't need to wipe the floor with one of his stands. And so I will be permanently removing that dude from my channel going forward. And if he wants to strut around and claim that that's some sort of victory, be my guest. I don't give a fuck. He's been debunked, and I don't need to do anything else. With that, we are going to go to our second final subject of the night, and then we'll move on to the final one. Both of these will be very quick, or at least I'll try to make them quick, because Astronomy Live and I need to work in the morning. So, there was a guy from 7 years ago that recently came back onto my radar. 7 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, and after that, I didn't really hear much from him. And it is a guy by the name of satiricism.com. If you guys have been following me for a very, very, very long time, you may have seen me actually have a few interactions with this individual, because he was one of these idiots that believed that the angular size of the sun changed throughout the day because he couldn't distinguish between the sun's actual size and glare. And this was because he decided to do all of his observations with an iPhone. I'm just going to let that hang there for a second. He decided to try and measure the angular size of the sun throughout the day with a fucking iPhone. And then I
assume there's no solar filter involved in this setup.
At the beginning, no. But then he did use a solar filter, but keep in mind that the iPhone that he was using, I don't know if it had the ability to adjust its exposure, but it was still overexposed even with the solar film, the Thousand Oaks film that he was using. Because in order to truly get rid of the glare, you need to adjust the exposure. And it also helps if you're able to zoom in on the sun so that it occupies more of the sensor.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you could do it if you had like a smartphone adapter for a telescope and you put the iPhone on a solar filtered telescope. That would work.
Yeah, it would, but he didn't do that. He just used the iPhone by itself. And when I told him that you could literally go to Walmart and get really cheap zoom cameras that would do a far better job than whatever your fucking iPhone could produce, he just said, nuh-uh, I'm going to use iPhones. And the reason why he said that he was going to use iPhones is because, well, I want to use equipment that's available to everybody.
Most you can get a solar filtered telescope for cheaper than an iPhone. I mean, that's definitely
that's what I told him. I showed shots at my local Walmart of just cameras that were on the shelf. One camera was literally $150. The solar filter that I got at the time was like $7. The cardboard box it was stuck to was free. And I literally made it out of duct tape and glued it together. And there you go. I had a solar filter. And I said, you claiming that this shit is out of your budget is one, very, very sad. And two, to believe that other people are limited but in the same exact way is also extremely hilarious. And I didn't believe him. I didn't believe him. You know, you could literally not eat Big Macs for a certain number of weeks, and you would eventually get enough money to buy yourself a camera and your health would drastically improve. I did not believe that bullshit story for a second. I believe, and I still believe it to this day, that the only reason he was using his fucking iPhone is because it gave him the results that he wanted.
Well, again, if you have an iPhone, okay, you must apparently have enough money to buy an iPhone, or at least get a plan that's expensive enough to subsidize the cost of that iPhone, right? So if he were to just downgrade to maybe say a cheap flip phone plan with virtually no data on it, I'm pretty sure after a couple months he could probably afford a basic solar filtered telescope.
Exactly. So now that is a brief history lesson of my interaction with this Zeteticism.com guy. But why are we talking about him now? Well, because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, he is angry that I removed a debate that I had with him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share something right here. I'm going to share the audio, or at least attempt to, and let's go ahead and listen to him complain. Here we go. So I'm assuming y'all can see that. So Astronomy Live, tell me if you can hear this.
Wanted to point out something to you.
Yep, I can hear it.
You can hear that? All right, let's listen to this just for a brief moment.
Very interesting. Here's a video put up on my channel, Zeteticism.com. Red's Rhetoric versus Zeteticism.com. A debate that was done. 4,000 views on my channel. Now, if you go to Red's Rhetoric's channel, the debate's not there. Here's all his videos. Let's go way down to 7 years. The reason that this video that he took it down is because I thoroughly won that debate. There was no contest. He was not even finishing his full time slots given when he had his chance to talk and so forth. And he claimed that he had this big victory. He did an after show video and everything. That one's taken down also. So anyway, that's just how I found atheists and so forth.
So I'm just gonna end it right there and stuff like that. And I will come back to that video momentarily because something about it is quite hilarious. So basically, he is bitching and moaning that the video was, or the debate was taken down from my channel. And just to illustrate something here, let me go ahead and show you guys just how long this dude has been away, because this is very, very interesting to me. So if you go to Zeteticism.com's YouTube channel, you see this shit. His last video about flat Earth or flat Earth anything, I would say, is from 4 years ago. He posted something about upper atmosphere. I don't know if that is about flat Earth per se, but I'm not going to watch it to find out. But you can see 4 years ago, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. This dude hasn't posted for a while. He's been gone for quite a bit. And then 4 days ago, he decides to post this shit, complaining that a video from 7 years ago was removed from my channel. And I was like, why are you looking at my shit 7 years after the fact? Are you just trying to relive the glory days that you got to be eclipsed by Red's Rhetoric's shadow? Just throwing that out there. It's kind of weird. But yeah, anyway, so he posted this video 4 days ago, and it has 164 views because no one gives a fuck, and why would they? Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell Zeteticism.com exactly why I took down that video. And yes, I did take down that video. And the reason why I took down that video is because of a couple of reasons. And it's the same reason I take down a lot of random bullshit hangouts that I have on this channel. The reason is because it was fucking boring. See, Sateticism.com doesn't seem to understand this, but I have quality standards sometimes on my channel. And if I don't even want to watch the video, why the fuck would I keep that boring, lame shit on my page? And to illustrate this point, and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, I am so sorry I have to do this to you. I am so sorry I have to do this to you. I apologize left, right, and center, but we're going to play a section of that debate. We're going to play just a small section, and I have to warn you, it's pretty bad. It's pretty fucking bad. So I'm going to ask you to step away from any sharp objects, prepare yourself, and here we go, because it is really, really bad. Okay.
Trails appears further away than the other and appears further down on the horizon. That's the southern one, and the other one appears more overhead, and that's what we call the northern one. Now, these each are actually higher in appearance than they actually are because of light refraction. Optics 101 involves a concept called light refraction. If any of you go and stick in the water, you'll notice that it appears bent at the point where it's in and out of the water. That's light refraction. It's very, very simple. Optics 101. Anybody can verify it for themselves. But the issue is that that changes the appearance of many things that we see. And if you look at the sunset, or if you look at the sun in the sky, the rays of the sun will bend in such a way that the arc where it'll make the sun appear higher than it actually is. However, on the dinner plate earth plane, which is a slightly embowed structure, when the sun, I hold the position that there's a low sun, and I've got a lot of video footage on my YouTube channel about that, where you have I don't have any filtered footage up yet. I've got some welding glass here. I'm shade 14, but there hasn't really been a clear sunset for about 3 weeks here in Michigan, because there's been some clouds or something. I want to have a crystal clear day to put up my video footage of filtered sunset footage where you can see the sun shrink or grow upon rising. I'll have that up in the next couple days. I was hoping to by the time this debate happened, but like I said, I live in Michigan, it's very cloudy. So what I do have is video footage of, when you're looking at the sunset, when it gets real down near the horizon, it gets very, very dim, and you can almost look right at it, or sometimes actually look right at it. So due to the fact that it's so dim, that there's no glare, and you can really get a good picture of the edge. And so,
dear God, fucking make it stop. Oh God. So, Astronomy Live, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you place the entertainment value or the informative value of whatever the fuck he just said?
It's a 1. It's a 1.
Exactly. That was the most unorganized shit show out there. And keep in mind that this shit was on my channel for years. And then I remembered something. Wait a minute. Why do I need to have this shit on my channel when Zeteticism.com already put it on his channel? It was agreed that he could upload his own copy of it, and so he can go ahead and take his copy, run with it, and I can clear my channel of this fucking clutter that was on my channel for years. Fucking years it was there. So the debate is still available. You can still find it. Just go to his channel. I decided to give him, complete ownership of that debate. Why is he complaining? But to go back to that, he claims that the reason why that debate was removed is because of this victory that he has. He believes he has a huge ass fucking victory and stuff like that. And I said that we were going to go back to his copy of it. And believe me, we are, because there's something very hilarious about his copy of this video. Very, very hilarious, because this guy is totally confident that he fucking won. He won something here, and he was, saying, oh, he removed it because he was terrified of how badly he got owned, and he didn't want people to see that shit, and blah, blah, blah. Well, to him, I asked the question, if you won so thoroughly, why do you have comments turned off? I can't help but notice that the comments are turned off. Is it because probably, maybe, I'm not sure, I'm just guessing here, that you were tired of getting absolutely thrashed in the comment section about your piss poor performance? You know, just an idea. But I showed an example, or not an example, a small clip of that debate. It is like nails on fucking chalkboard. It is awful. You were not prepared. You were stammering over your words, going all over the fucking place. It was a shitty debate. Your performance left a lot to be desired. And even though we have shit shows on this channel, other shit shows were still somehow more organized than your thoughts in this supposed structured and moderated debate. Like, you left a lot to be desired. And if I didn't even want to watch the debate because I found it so fucking unlistenable, I was like, well, I'm just not going to have it on my channel. And then I remembered, oh, wait, I don't have to, because as is demonstrated by what I'm screen sharing right the fuck now, you already have it. So if people want to watch whatever the fuck this was, then they can go to your channel and you can get the views. But I do hope that you turn comments back on so people can tell you their opinion about how well you supposedly did. But not all is lost at Zeticism.com. Not all is lost. Because I'm going to give you another opportunity. I want to know if you have matured since your early days 7 years ago, that you have learned exactly why you're wrong, that maybe you have figured out finally after all this time why using an iPhone is insufficient for finding the angular size of the sun. As you can tell in your fucking thumbnail over here, that's just blurry as fuck. You know, it could be the case that you have new information. Could be the case that your arguments have changed and morphed into something that doesn't require you to go off on a tangent every which way except the one that actually demonstrates your fucking point or your flat earth. So here's my offer to you. I am going to present to you, I'm going to roll out the red carpet for us to have another debate or a conversation, either one. Let's go ahead and relive the glory days where you and I get to have a discussion about the angular size of the sun and flat earth in general. Let's have that discussion. So you have, let me go ahead and put a time limit on this because I'm not going to wait forever for you and there's a reason for that. I'll give you to the end of August to set up a day and a time with me for that conversation if you wish to have another one. And if you so thoroughly destroyed me last time, you should be able to do it again. And I promise you this time, regardless how bad it is, I'll leave it up on my channel in perpetuity. So that's my offer to you. You can take it or leave it. I don't really give a shit. But if you want to know why I removed that video, it's because the video was fucking awful. Just in general, you left a lot to be desired. It was ear cancer, essentially. So there's that. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, we are now at the final subject for tonight. We went on a lot longer than I would have liked, and thank you, Astronomy Live, for sticking with me this long. So here's where we're at. A little bit of personal news, guys. A lot of good shit has been happening recently, and my attention is being pulled in other directions. A lot of things are transpiring in my real life that require my attention. That's going to see me in a much better position than I am right now, and how I'm doing right now is fucking great. And the idea that's just going to get better from here is absolutely amazing. And I have to thank my friends and my supporters for helping me get this far in my life personally. You guys have been, a great source of motivation, and I cannot thank you guys enough. I also would like to thank Astronomy Live, who has helped me more than I am able to explain here. But thank you very much, Astronomy Live, and no one will ever know that you are a wonderful big spoon.
Thank you.
Perfect. So that will be our little secret. But basically what this means is that at the end of the month, or not really the end, more like the middle of next month, the middle of August, I am going to be going on hiatus. I'm going to be going on hiatus from YouTube and Twitter, and I'm going to be focusing on some real life shit that requires my attention. And this is all really good stuff, really, really good news. I'm really happy with the position that I found myself in. I am now poised for even more success than I have found recently. And it's been a never-ending stream of good news on top of good news. But finally, I'm at the point where I have to start focusing on it a little bit more deliberately. It's going to require a lot more of my time. It's going to require a lot of my effort. And to be frank with you guys, that Distance to the Sun video wore me the fuck out. I mean, that was the ultimate case of Brandolini's Law coming true, because the amount of effort it takes to debunk bullshit on the internet is an order of magnitude more than what it takes to initially produce it. That is Brandolini's Law, and that held true for the Distance to the Sun video. That holds true for a lot of shit that flat earthers say, because they can just say a whole bunch of random bullshit, but it actually takes time to sufficiently debunk that bullshit when we're dealing with math and evidence and collecting all the data and so forth. I mean, Astronomy Live, with that fucking email that was literally vomited into your mailbox, how many months and hours and how, with the blood, sweat, and tears, how much of that debt was paid, previously into debunking that email? We're talking years worth of work, right?
Oh yeah, like the picture of M101 alone, that's 6 hours worth of light, not counting the setup time across 2 different nights to get the camera and the telescope running. That's a lot of work, and that's just for that one picture. Now you think about all the other references, all the other stuff I did, the moon calculation spreadsheet, the where I actually calculated the width of the moon's umbral shadow. Now that spreadsheet's pretty damn accurate at nailing the position of the moon. It's actually using an implementation of the ELP 2000 method of calculating the moon's position. It took me the better part of a month, I believe, to create that spreadsheet, the original version of that spreadsheet. Again, that's just for one little point on that list. It's fortunate that pretty much all of them were something I had already addressed on my channel, but collectively that represents months and years of work.
Yes, we're talking about a lot of due diligence. And if we look at the Distance to the Sun video, I had to drive all the way to fucking Colorado and back again. I drove all the way to Colorado mainly because I love you guys and my audience deserves the best, but also because someone was wrong on the internet. And that's effort that, let's be honest here, no reasonable person would do. But I don't know. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. But I drove a long ass way to get the data. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of math. It was a lot of effort. The amount of effort we took putting the math together, doing the observations, putting the video together, making the spreadsheets, making the master document, figuring out what is and is not going to be included in the video, and then making the supplements. How do we address this? How do we address that? This started last year. This idea started back in December of 2020, and it wasn't finished until 4 weeks ago. So you're talking about a lot of work that goes into making these videos, especially that one. There was a lot of work when it came to measuring the altitude, size, and speed of the International Space Station. There was a lot of work when we did the first time back in 2018. So we did in 2018, we did it again in 2020. Then you got to think about the thousands of miles driven to Cape Canaveral and back. Astronomy Live, ballpark number. How many miles do you think is on your vehicle solely because of rocket launches that flat earthers say don't happen?
I mean, I've said this before. You know that's not why I go to all these launches to try to film them, but
Correct,
it's
but this is just illustrating the effort we put into the videos.
oh, I know. It's 300. It's almost 300 miles for me every single time. So ballparking it, I'd say, gosh, there's probably at least what am I saying? There's probably at least 6,000 miles on my vehicle right now that are only there because I was driving to a rocket launch.
Yeah. Now on my video, or on my vehicle, I should say, how many rocket launch videos do I have? I'm gonna say around 60. All right, so I'm gonna say around 60, and let's be kind and say it takes 300 miles around. So 60 times 300, that's 18,000 miles driven. 18,000 miles driven for rocket launch videos. And I know that the number is more than that because that's on the assumption that every single one of them goes off when you do the drive.
Which we know doesn't happen.
So there's a lot of work that goes into making these videos and for debunking bullshit on the internet. Astronomy Live has years and years of work into his spreadsheets and into his data, his videos, and just the skill set necessary to make his current videos. Same is true with my style and my videos and my production, the math that goes into it, the amount of effort needed to drive to all of these, locations to get the data that flat earthers simply don't want to do the work to gather in the fucking first place. It's tiring. And so you look at that, and then you look at the fact that, well, now I'm in a position where I have a lot of shit to do. A lot of good shit, don't get me wrong. It's absolutely amazing. I am extremely fortunate to find myself in the position that I'm in right now. And I have a lot of people to thank for helping me get to that point in my life. I'm very, very comfortable right now because of where I am, and it's only going to get better from here. But in order to ensure that it does get better from here, I have to focus on real life shit. And unfortunately, that does mean that I am going to have to step away from debunking fucktards on the internet and leave it to other people to do that. And there are plenty of other people. MC Toon is one such example. Mr. Sensible is another great example of people who can quite easily debunk flat earth dumbfuckery. Where's Wally is another great example of who is doing a fantastic job debunking flat earth dumbfuckery. There's a lot of options out there. So I know that flat earthers are going to have their hands full when they spew demonstrably incorrect bullshit on the internet, because I know there's going to be a flat earth debunker ready to absolutely eviscerate the shit out of them. I'm only here as a supplement to all the other people that have, done really good work in this space to debunk flat earth nonsense. They're all great, and I highly recommend you subscribe to them. And I hope that my videos can aid them in their videos later on. Like, if a flat earther were to say, oh, well, you don't know how far away the sun is, they can reference the video that we made, Astronomy Live. That would be a great thing to have happen. And it has happened already, at least on Twitter. And I also know that MC Toon referenced my angular size of the sun video in one of his videos. So that's great. So clearly our job of providing the information necessary to debunk flat earth nonsense, we've done our job. We've done all the things that we wanted to do. We figured out the size of the earth. We measured the altitude, size, and speed of the International Space Station. We showed that the International Space Station exists in the first place. We filmed rocket launches, and we captured the money shot. You and I were the first individuals to independently capture an unbroken shot from launch to landing of a Falcon rocket. We did it with Falcon Heavy. I did it with a Falcon 9 through shitty conditions with a Nikon P1000, their fucking camera of choice. I captured that shit, and it was amazing. That one thing that flat earthers said was not possible, that it was fake. It never happened. It was a dummy rocket dropped from a fucking cargo plane or whatever. We captured an unbroken shot from launch to landing. and we shoved that footage up all of their fucking asses. And it was glorious. You know, it took a lot of work to get to that level. It took a lot of work to get that good at what we do. And I also want to illustrate one more instance of this. But remember my angular size of the sun video where I tracked the sun all day long?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
While I was very close to getting a heat stroke, Astronomy Live, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a hurricane barreling towards us.
Yeah.
You know, the smart thing to do would have been to get the fuck out of Dodge, but, you know, someone's wrong on the internet and someone's got to show these motherfuckers what's up. And so I did it. I fucking stayed out there in the sun all day long with a fucking hurricane coming towards my ass, and I tracked the sun all day long. I made a video, posted it, and even one person in the comment section was like, dude, that's some serious fucking balls that you would stay out there all fucking day with a hurricane barreling at you to film the sun. Like, the balls that takes. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, it seems kind of fucking nuts. And that's because it is. This is all to illustrate that I am tired for a very good reason. And I also have a lot of shit to do. So that is exactly why I am here to announce that over the next few weeks, I will be on hiatus. I don't know when I will be coming back. I will come back, but I can't tell you when. I just have a lot of shit to do. And I know that's going to leave a lot of flat earthers unaddressed, because let's face it, you can't get to all of them. You just can't. And having one less person in that fight allows some bullshit to go unchallenged. But, you know, I got to look out for myself and make sure that I'm situated and in a position where I know that I'm not just going to survive. I'm going to thrive. I'm thriving now, and I'm very fortunate to find myself in this position. And I just wanted to get better. Call me selfish, but I'm in a position right now where that is a very, very real opportunity, and I'm not going to fuck that up. I really am not. So with that being said, I do want to say, you know, thank you guys very much for sticking with me all this time. It has been great. It has been fun. It has been real. I'm going to take a very long break from this shit and deal with some real life stuff. It's necessary, and I don't want it to be necessary, but it kind of is. And you know, y'all are fucking annoying at times. The flat earthers, that is, not my subs and my fans. You guys are the best, but the flat earthers are just fucking annoying, and it's taking way too much of my fucking time at this point. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. Astronomy Live, what say you to all of that shiznit?
I think it's well deserved, and I think I think we're all going to miss you, but definitely well deserved, and definitely you gotta do what's right for you, and you gotta, you know, there's more important things out there than people being wrong on the internet. But I think that our efforts, and your efforts especially, can be credited with changing the landscape here and on Twitter and elsewhere. I mean, I remember was not that long ago when these Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy landings started that it was very, very common to see people claiming that this was all CGI, it was a hoax. You don't see that very much anymore. Like, that has kind of died down. They know it's a dangerous subject to touch because of our videos. Like, they'll get it shoved sideways, and they don't want to hit that third rail. So I think that our efforts have made a difference, and I really think that our efforts at, say, measuring the distance to Mars and the sun are going to have a lasting impact in the future. I think it'll be a nice resource for people to cite. It already has been. And that's going to create a lot of problems for flat earthers. I think that movement is going to have a lot of trouble in the future. You know, it seems like the Artemis program is proceeding, And I'm sure they're going to claim that was a hoax just as much as the Apollo program was. I know my efforts are going to continue to document these missions in space using amateur hardware for years to come, and that's going to continue to present a problem for them. But it's our efforts, and it's been your efforts to document these things and to actually do the tests that they won't do, that are going to create inconvenient problems for them in debates for the rest of time. So
Yeah,
thank you for everything you've done there.
I appreciate it. Yeah, the challenge at the very beginning was simple: do your own research. And we demonstrated what happens when you do your own research and you do it properly. And that is why flat earthers have been so fucking pissed off lately. I mean, just look at the Bev stand out there. And but this is also the reason why I'm putting a time limit for zeteticism.com to get back to me. I'm willing to do one last debate with this dude and then sign off from there. And also to illustrate that comment that I was talking about previously, let me show you this comment right here. This was 9 months ago. I was in Tampa for a few days in mid-August at one of my construction sites. I was at Disney in mid-September. I wanted to fucking die from the heat and humidity. We also had a tornado at Epcot, lols. And you just sat out here to record the sun with a nasty hurricane approaching. The monumental balls that takes. Glad to see the assistance of Sly as well. I was like, yeah, so basically this dude got to experience the Florida heat and he wanted to fucking die. He also acknowledged the nasty hurricane that was coming towards me. And here I was just sitting there recording the sun because some asshole was wrong on the fucking internet. So clearly the effort has been put forward. And I think when you look at the fact that, you know, we captured the money shot with the Falcon rockets, we measured the altitude, size, and speed of the International Space Station, not once, but twice. We figured out the distance to the sun. And in doing so, we also figured out the distance to Mars, the actual size of Mars, the size of the Earth, how to do fucking spherical trigonometry and shit, and pissing off a whole bunch of flat earthers in the process. You know, we have done our due diligence. You know, like I said, a lot of work has been put forth, years upon years of effort, and now it's time to just kind of take a step back. Let's recharge our batteries and also focus on some real life shit that's going to put me personally in a much better position than I am currently, even though the position I'm currently in is really fucking awesome. Like, seriously, guys, it's because of your guys' support that I'm able to find myself in this spot. I cannot thank you guys enough. And so at the end of the day, I will be going on hiatus for a period of time. I don't know for how long. And as a result, to make sure that I'm not dealing with fucking nonsense, my Twitter will be going private when that happens, because I don't feel like getting absolutely bombarded to shit on Twitter when I am objectively on hiatus and doing my own thing. I'm also going to have a few people, you know, monitor my channel for any obvious bullshit so that they can do the moderation. Astronomy Live will be one of them. Slicks can even, you know, go through my comments every now and then just to double check on things. Steve McRae is going to do that as well. You know, the moderators on my channel will be able to maintain my channel while I'm gone to make sure that there's no disgusting bullshit being posted or anything like that. And my Twitter is going to be, like I said, privated so that I'm not getting inundated with bullshit. And then other people will be able to pick up the slack from there. I'm pretty sure that they're capable of doing so. I have 100% confidence in MC Tune, Mr. Sensible, and people like Where's Wally. They're gonna do a great fucking job. They don't need my help. I was just here having fun alongside with them. So with that being said, guys, I do want to say thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and end the stream. And Astronomy Live, thank you so much for helping me out throughout the years. It has been a pleasure working with you through all these videos. And, you know, we fucking measured the distance to the sun. We were able to and not to get too poetic with this shit, but we had a very strong connection to the solar system itself. We were the way for the solar system to know itself at that particular moment in time, and that was a great feeling. And the fact that we were able to share that discovery with everyone else, and the fact that we did it with our own work and with historical data, not from NASA, I think that fucking nailed it. That we hit it out of the park with that one. That's a great grand finale right there.
Oh, it really was. It was a magnum opus, and I'm so proud of what we were able to accomplish there, and the accuracy we were able to achieve. Very happy with that, and I don't think we could end on a higher note than that, honestly. I'm going to be continuing with my channel. I'm going to be trying to focus more on the software development I've been doing for Sat Tracker, for Rocket Tracker, so stay tuned for that. But I'm very happy with what I was able to help contribute there to that video and to our effort measuring the distance to the sun.
Yep. And so with that, guys, there may be one more debate on this channel before I officially go on hiatus, but it will start sometime next month. So don't be surprised if next month you see my Twitter privated and you see me kind of fucked off doing other things. That is planned. There is a reason for it. And now you know the reason. I got really good shit going on. And the last thing I want to do is fuck it up, of course. And it does require my attention. And it is objectively more important than debunking flat earthers on the internet. So with that, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks to all the people that super chatted. It does mean a lot. I also would like to thank Steve McCrae for also being there for me. He is a great guy, great friend. It is a privilege to have known him. I also want to give a special shout out to Slick666. He's also a good dude, and I'm happy to hear that you are also doing well. You deserve nothing but happiness, and it is great to hear that you are doing very, very well. Nothing but the best for you. So, guys, thank you so much. And with that, have a good night. Peace out.